But thanks for coming today. So well done for Team 10, who are, where are you? Now, look at the difference between the Team 2 and Team 10. And the reason that I'm going to give Team 10 another 20 points is because there's no I in team, right? And they are here as a team, right? The rest of you that have lost your team, right, you should be deducted for every person that's no longer here in your team. Because everything in life is about what? Teamwork. Right? Imagine if I just wanted to go to the US and buy a property. Where am I going to land? Who am I going to go and visit? Who am I going to go and talk to? Who's going to give me some money? If I didn't have a team around me to support me in different investing decisions that I've done over the years, I would be still probably in the army. You know, telling people, marching them up and down a drill square, running them up and down a mountain, you know, doing weapon handling, doing theory, doing navigation, sending them off to war and just sitting there going, this is a great job, great benefits. I'll just keep cracking along until I hit 55 and then I'll retire and then I'll probably die at 58, right? Because when I got out of the army, 20 years leading up to the military, it was like fun. You know, we were looking after you guys, we were making sure that our shores were protected. You know, we did a lot of admirable things and it was an occupation that I'm very proud of, right? But the last couple of years in the job, you know, I've reached the pinnacle of my rank. I was a warrant officer in the army. I was posted to Swanbourne in Perth, the first female posted over there. But even still, that didn't juice me, right? Because I'd sort of learned as much as I thought I could possibly know in that skill set. So I was sort of just, And plus I was getting older and the boys weren't looking at me as what they did when I was in my 20s. So I thought, okay, it's probably a good time to get out, right? So the thing is, you've got to make a career decision at some point. Whose first event is this? The very first 4-day, right? So that is magnificent that 50% of you have been here before, and some of you that haven't, I welcome you here. And we only do this event once a year. And these are the events you either come for a Jamie fix, right? Or you come back to look at the next strategy. Now, some of you have bought Aussie property, some of you have bought some Australian property, some US property, some of you are doing internet business, some of you are trading financial markets. The thing is, your membership is 5 years with us, right? Within a 5-year period, your plan is to come to a 4-day, have a look at what we provide, and then go, okay, I'm going to start with this strategy, and then I'm going to come back in 6 months' time because by then I'll have money rolling in from that and it's time for my next one. And then ideally, our role is to holistically show you various strategies. So in the end, you can go up to your boss and say, ciao, brother, I'm out of here. Right? And that's what I did. 18 months, I went, ciao, sisters and brothers, I'm getting out. And they just went, oh, you'll never get out of the army, Lou. You're military, you'll be in here for life. But when I put my discharge papers in and gave them this 18 months notice, you know, all the carrots come out. Well, if you stay, what if we give you that package? And then what if we give you that? And what if we send you here? And what if, you know, and they just roll it all out. But I'd made a decision because I'd been working my ass off. My children didn't see me much anymore. I was married to some dude that I never saw, 6 months home, 6 months away. So, you know, so the thing is, you sort of just roll through your life. So if you're in an occupation at the moment that you don't like, we don't want you to quit your job. We want you to start making an income from whether it's Australian property, whether it's US, whether it's trading, whether it's business, and then put a forecast of where you'd like to be in that period of time. And you will absolutely move toward that, right? If you set that goal, set a path or a compass of where you want to go, you will absolutely head there. And the only reason that you don't head there is because of your own drama and excuses of why you haven't achieved the things you're supposed to achieve. Who's absolutely living the dreams that they had 5 years ago? 2 of you? 3? Okay, come on. Who loves their job? 4. So I'm assuming that the rest don't like it so much, but that doesn't matter, right? Eventually you'll find what, you went through that primary purpose with Jamie, you went for all the different strategies, and this is about you being accountable to you. You're not accountable to me or to Jamie or the company. You've got to be accountable and responsible for your own personal development and investment. Who's lost money trading the markets, financial markets? John, have you lost money trading the markets? John, classic. He started this at 72. John's now what? 73, right? So, but the thing is, the guy just keeps doing it and doing it and doing it. And if he loses money, he doesn't sit there and ring up Jamie and blame Jamie because Jamie taught him about psychology and trading, right? He's accountable for his own learning and his own development. If you don't have money to spare, then don't invest it, right? If you don't have money to lose, don't invest it. If you don't have a tenant in a property, don't whinge about it. Resolve it or let us help you resolve it. Shit happens in life. Is that true? Perfect world. Wouldn't it be nice if it didn't? It'd be boring as batshit, but it'd be nice. Okay, so today what I'm going to talk to you about is US property. Now, we've been doing this for a few years, haven't we? Right, and the thing is, when Jamie said to me, Lou, you've got to get up and talk about US property, because he's a very busy man, as you know, he's got a lot of businesses, a lot of things going on. And I said, I don't know anything about US property. And he goes, the best way to do US property is to buy one. I just went, how much are they? And he goes, 50, 60 grand. I went, yeah, I'll just pull 50, 60 grand out of my pocket. But the thing is, I did see an opportunity and I trusted him. Why did I trust him? Because I'd been a home study member for 5 years and he hadn't let me down in the past, right? So obviously a lot of it is my own internal belief about how I feel about myself. But it's also, I need a teacher. I need someone to show me how to structure my businesses. I need an accountant. I need a person that can tell me what sort of lending I can get. I need, professionals that teach me different things, so then later I can make my own decision about what I should invest in. Does that make sense? And that's what I want you guys to get, because we're in the 21st century. We need to think creatively and work out a solution for how we do business. But if you look at that, they're about 40 grand, aren't they? So many people, how many people get excited when they go, I got a new car, bought a Jeep, right? What for? Right? If you're going to buy a Jeep, lease it for God's sake, okay? Pre-tax dollar, salary sacrifice. But for the cost of a car in Australia, you can get a US property, right? And as I said, they range from anywhere from 30 grand up to 200 grand. It depends on what you want to get. But the biggest fear is this. People are fearful that, oh my God, hands up, honestly, who's thought of that fear? Actually, I've got a couple of those. Carter gave them to me. Oh no, I better wipe that for later. But that is people's biggest fear, is that they're going to get a house that it may be in, in a wrong state or the wrong area. But the reality is that for the last 3.5 years, we've sold properties that are really good quality, and ultimately you're not going to live in this house. But there are millions of people that lost their money, lost their homes, that have turned into a country of renters now. Do you reckon they're going to race back to the bank, right, to get a loan? Not yet. But they will once they've got confidence in what? When they've got renewed confidence in the banking system, in the politicians and things like that, right? So, you've got the choice of going, okay, for the cost of stamp duty in Australia for a $400,000 or $500,000 property, why not have a look at diversifying your property portfolio in the US? And because Jamie had bought a few properties, then I try to model success, right? So obviously his is at a much larger scale than many of us in this room. However, it's all relative, and you have to start somewhere, don't you? People go, it's all right for you, you've X, Y, Z, and I'm going, it's all right for me, I didn't start this journey until I was 37. Where's the little mosh pit girl? How old is she? She's like 11, and I'm joking. So that team should have 20 points anyway, because that was a good deal, and she's going to write a blog on mosh pit, so come at 4 o'clock for the blogging thing tomorrow. But you know what I mean? So the thing is, if you look around, there's more younger people in these audience these days, because they're realising that they have to actually take control of what the things that they want to do. But here's a classic example. Now, the prices are pretty much still the same, but the rental return is less now. Now, this is a great property. This is in northwest Indiana, which is up near Chicago, and I'll show you a map of America shortly. But if you can get a property for 58 grand that's returning 20%, who would go for it? Right? Of course. And the thing is, you've got a couple of Australian properties, right? You've got a bit of cash and a line of credit, or some of you may have a self-managed super fund. You can see Warren and Derek, and they can show you how it's possible. All you've got to do is say what you want to do, when you want to achieve it, right? And as long as your compass is the reason why you do something, then you'll move towards that quite easily. right? But this is typical, and you can go to our website. There's 300 odd properties that we've offered to members over the last few years. You know, you will have a few people that are upset with different things. Maybe the property manager's not worked out, or, you know, I had a property for about 5 months that didn't have a tenant. But the thing is, I bought a property for $42,000, it's now 80. So was I whinging about not having a tenant? You know, the thing is, if I had a finance or a loan on that, then it's all a business expense, so it's written off as that. So the thing is, you've got to focus on the bigger picture here, and sometimes there will be issues, but as long as you understand them up front, then you're okay to deal with the issues, right? But that's typical, you know, they're all averaging anywhere from 30, 40, 50 grand, and it's around 15%. Now, these are for single-family homes, because tonight I'm going to show you some single-family homes, and I'm also going to show you the North Dakota stock, which is completely different. But just say, when you're old and grey, you want to be able to have at least 5 or 10 grand a month coming in rental income from something, right? Or you're going to do the 10 properties in 10 years strategy, right? So just based off this, who is investing in cash flow for cash flow? Hands up. Who's investing for long-term capital growth? Who's really not quite sure what they want yet? What about the rest of you? Who's awake? Awesome. Right, so what I want you to think of is, in this presentation, is think of, in a few years' time or in 2 or 3 years' time, what a difference it would make if you, for example, this is a typical scenario of what some of our clients have got, because some are into their 3rd and 4th and 5th property. You know, we've got clients that have flown in from, where have you flown in from today? Tell me. Cairns. Hong Kong. Where else? Sydney. Where else? NZ. Right? Lots of people flew in from NZ. Perth. North Dakota. The US. Singapore. Right, and this is Melbourne. Like, I had 6 appointments today, and only one person was from Melbourne. The rest were from international. So the thing is, you will travel to buy these properties. Particularly, how nice would it be if your first property that you buy, say January, is giving you that per annum? It costs you $30,000, $40,000. Your second property that you decide to buy in, say, March, April, right, starts giving you that. So that would be a lower cost property, maybe $30,000 property. Your third, your fourth, your fifth, your sixth. At the end of 5 properties, your total investment would have been around 26 or 260,000, and you're getting about a $30,000 to $40,000 income for doing absolutely what? Nothing. And that's what Jamie was saying, you know, the best property strategies. The hardest thing is you get in, you get your money, you get sorted, you select a property, you fund it, you put property managers in, you get the tenants in, and then you go off and live your dreams and do the things that you want to do. You don't have to work at property, do you? Sure, you have to have contingency plans for when things need fixing, or you've got insurances and stuff like that. But most times it is a long-term set and forget. So you couple a couple of US properties with some Aussie stock, and that is a really leveraged way in, say, 5, 10 years' time. How nice would it be to have an extra, 40 grand income for doing nothing? And that's without your Aussie properties, and that's without your other businesses, and that's without your salary, and that's without your superannuation. You know what I mean? So ideally, you want to get to the point where you've got about 5 streams of income over your membership time. Who's got a nice solid stream of income going at the moment? What, 2 of you work? What do the rest of you do? Who's got two roles, 2 forms of income? Who's got 3? Who's got more than 3? You know, awesome. And the thing is, that's what you want. Who knows what they're going to do? Just say you went to work tomorrow and something happened and you got the sack. Have you got a contingency plan? Are you able to sustainably live for how long on the way you currently live now? It means you can't change the way you live now. How long would that money last? You might have 30, 40 grand in the bank. You know, that could see you for a while. But what you'll do is you'll be more conservative with your spending. So the idea is irrespective of what happens to the markets, what happens to property, what happens to super, the thing is you want to have a couple of streams of income so you don't have to solely rely on that. Plus the currency gain. Now, some people bought their properties when Australian dollar was $1 for dollar against the US. Some bought it when it was 80. Some people bought it when it was $1.08. Right, so the thing is, you can get massive currency fluctuations, and a lot of people just go, okay, it's just going to be, they just think 50 grand is 50 grand. But 50 grand US could be 60 grand Australian, or 50 grand US could be 45 grand Australian. And that's what a lot of people have done. They've got in towards the end of last year when we had a really strong dollar and we had more property sales than we had for a long time because people recognise that. Now, without the education, they wouldn't have been smart enough to identify the key things and knowing when to the only time we want you to procrastinate, right, is in those moments, is that delay, right? Procrastination is just delay of taking action. Who's the best procrastinator in the world? Anyone know? Mark Federer, right, isn't he? And that's why he's world champion, because he delays that one tiny millisecond so the opponent doesn't know where he's going to strike the ball, and then he comes out, right? That's the only procrastinator you can be, right? So it's just recognising those things and just going, okay, the Australian dollar's here, have a look at the charts, just do a little bit of research and go, actually, now is the perfect time. I need to just move my money into the AFEX account, lock in the exchange rate today. You know what I mean? So it's just being smart, and that's what Jamie's focus is allowing you to grow and move as fast as you can through smart investing, right, and recognising smart opportunities. So today what we'll do is we'll run through the different properties that we've got, and then I'm going to show you some of the mining stock that we've got in North Dakota. But for many of you that, do you know there's some cracks in this stage, right? And have you seen my little Beyonce heels? So I've just got to be very careful to step over the cracks, because I have walked along and I've left one shoe in there before, and then Joel's come running up and stuck it back on. So if I fall over, please don't laugh at me, just help me up, right? Promise? You started laughing already. You're waiting for it. So yeah, that was me, I joined the army at 17, and my main role was to actually train soldiers. So I spent a lot of time in training for about 10 years and then moved into logistics at a much higher strategic level. But I absolutely loved it. I met a great guy, had lots of kids in the army, but it was a bit of a juggle trying to, because I had to be at work at 7:30 each morning and then on the road running and carrying on, and then all day, and then I'd have to run to daycare and run to pick up the child from there and run there. And, after a while, when you've got a massive full-on career, it can take its toll. Plus, your children start they don't get to see you much. And then my mother said, why did you have so many kids if you're not going to actually spend time with them? And I thought, that's a pretty good point. And because my husband was away a lot, so, what I did is I got online, Googled how to get rich, how to make money, how to get out of the army, what can I do? And I fell into different things. And then I found this dude named Jamie McIntyre. And I went, okay, Aussie guy, bit skinny, but yeah, I'll listen to what he has to say. Because who's seen those old photos of him, you're right? And anyway, I rang up, and I did ring up a couple of businesses to see what they did. And ironically, they wouldn't say what they sold. I said, look, I'm happy to pay you. What business are you into? Because these were like network marketing ones at Melaleuca and Amways and something. I'm trying to think of something to do at home. And no one would tell me, we'll send you the information. I said, just what do you sell? What do you sell? And they wouldn't. And then I rang up 21st Century and I said, what do you guys sell? And, we've got this dude, he wrote this book and everyone likes it and he teaches people how to invest. And I said, okay, send me the DVD, I'll have a look. And then $4,000, ring up my husband, I went, someone's just taken $4,000 out of our account. Don't worry, I'll chase it up. So, and in the end, it turned into an amazing journey, and that was back in 2006. And the first dude I had was him, right? What's his name? Tony. I couldn't believe what I was stepping into. And this is back at a big seminar, and that's when I first met him. And then from then on, I got to meet, Ida Buttrose, Lisa Curry-Kenny. I learned how to trade. I bought properties through. This is over a 5-year period, right? Okay, so my goal was to make some money from trading, from property, and all of these services. I bought some from Conrad, a couple of properties in Melbourne from Conrad, and then my third strategy was internet marketing. So I hooked up with a guy named Armin Morin, James Framco, and that's where I've learnt the majority of my last 5 years of running internet businesses. So now I have about 6 streams of income, right? And the reason that I keep doing what I do, plus I get to speak to you guys, because you still need a driving force. So people go, if people make all this money, why are they still working? Every successful business on the planet, their CEO is still working. And why are they still working? Because they want to, and they love it. What else are you going to do? You can only lay on a beach for so long. Come on. Maybe 4 months with a couple of Mai Tais, you're going to get fat, you're going to get even darker, you're going to, it's not the life, You need to actually keep doing something and you need to add value. So I got to meet Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street. That movie's coming out soon. And then eventually got into trading futures and then finished up trading with Greg with Forex. Don't know who that dude is. I found him somewhere. Tim Ferriss was instrumental because he helped. I bought the 4 Hour Body. One tiny secret here, right, is that Jamie McIntyre can make you fat. Righto? Because I was in the army. This is what I looked like in the army. I was fit. I was, on top of my game physically. Come in here, make money. The only exercise I ended up doing was buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, research houses. And then suddenly I went like that, got up to 96 kilos, found out that Tim Ferriss was coming to town the year after, went, holy crap, I can't sit in front of Tim Ferriss fat. What's his book? 4 Hour Body, Slow Carb Diet, and Kettlebells. And that was it. So then, 2 years, I dropped 30 kilos and now I'm back to my fighting weight. So be careful if you ever want to work for Jamie, be careful. And then me old mate up the back, Johnny, give us a wave. Flew all the way in from Perth. There's a gentleman that has made, on average, 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 grand every single month doing something completely opposite to the rest of the world, which is consistently, successfully trading the options market. So, we had a course with John. He's one of our greatest testimonials and he's a really beautiful guy. So if you ever want to know how to understand the psychology of training, you need to actually spend some time with John because, you can always learn off people, right? And John's been great. And then, what a spunk, Mark Boris. Randy Zuckerberg, the co-founder of Facebook, that was pretty amazing. And then David Koch, and then, of course, J Mac. And then Sir Richard Branson. So here's me, look, 5 years ago, teaching people how to march on a drill square, cycle of operations of the Aussie, how to shoot straight, how to chase baddies, right? And then I'm up here speaking with Sir Richard Branson. It's just been a dream. But then that's my favourite. Can I tell you a quick little story about Arnie? Yeah. So we did who went to the Arnie event? Oh, how amazing was it? That was unbelievable. And when I was in the army, on the gymnasiums in the army, the only person that are on the walls are Arnold Schwarzenegger like that, right? So the thing is, I'd sort of grown up with him in my military career as the pinnacle of fitness and, this massive lat spread. And, I was into bodybuilding and stuff while I was in the military. So when I actually saw him, we'd done Perth, Sydney, Melbourne rolling. It was really super fast. And I didn't get to meet him at any of those events. And I was livid because I'm speaking and he was always on after me. So I never got to personally meet him. So I said to Jamie, I need to go and meet him. I need to get a photo. And anyway, I went into the dinner, got a photo. And I said, Arnie, I don't want just the rigid photos like everybody does. I said, because this is a unique opportunity. I said, one, I've always had the hots for you forever. Ever since I was a young girl, I said, you've had the most beautiful physique I've ever seen in my life. I said, I just want to go in for a grope for this photo. Is that okay? And because he went, what? Right? He just started laughing, and I did. Right? So I went in, buttocks. And then pulled him in close, and because he was laughing, you can't not laugh, right? And then he pulled me in, and then the photo turned out really beautiful. And then we just had a chat after it. But it was just having that nice little, when you've got an opportunity to meet someone of that calibre, do not miss it, right? So even if you look like a dick, I didn't care if I looked like a dick. I didn't care who was even looking at me. I just wanted to feel his butt. I wanted to go into the small of his back, and then I wanted to feel this big lat. But it wasn't as big as probably what I expected. It was pretty straight up and down, but the opportunity was great. Thanks, Arnie. And then that's my family. So everything I do, guys, whether it's property or whether it's trading or whether it's, speaking to you guys or whether it's doing webinars or whatever, I do it purely not for you or not for my financial gain. I do it so I can have more time with them, with more experiences with them. And we go overseas every year. We take them on an overseas holiday. So we took them to Vegas this year with the US boot camp. Royce and I got married again. We did our 20-year wedding anniversary and we took the kids this time. So I've been married to him for 20 years. Why wouldn't you be? Right, look at him. So the thing is, Elvis wasn't too bad either. But the thing is, I show my husband, I show my family because you guys are doing the same thing. This is about what you can provide for your family, and having a loving, supporting partner who doesn't say, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that, right? You need someone who's going to support you in your quest to get whatever it is you want. So that is my why, and throughout this weekend, you guys have got to find what your why is, what your compass is, right? What is taking you to where you're going to and your reason why. The rest is just the strategies. They're easy, right? But unless you've got a compass to go there, then you've got nowhere to go, right? And only you can come up with that. So what we do in a nutshell as far as US property goes is that we'll buy properties from foreclosures, from short sales, right, from normal auctions, and then we've got a team in the US, and what they do is they'll have to fix them up, right? Because some of these people walked away from their houses, they have to fix them up and get them up to market rental and get tenants in it. So then what they do, they put the tenants in, and then ideally you replicate that. In a nutshell, that's what we do, right? And it's also identifying where you need to go. So we'll buy properties in where we consider, and where our US team consider to be the hottest areas that will return long-term, either one, capital growth, or two, high net rentals. Now, we've got 2 or 3 different types, which I'll go through the different types, but if you're looking at spending 30 grand, and Kartik's got 12 units in Phoenix, Arizona for around the $30,000 mark, right? So they're in Phoenix. So we've got some of them which we sold a few of those a while ago, but now we've got another batch of stock for those. So it depends on what you're sort of looking for. If you're looking after a 50, 60 grand investment returning a higher return, well, then you can see the team and they'll help you do that. But it's a matter of organising your finance, organising accounts, setting up your US bank accounts. So just say like my first property, I didn't buy it under Lou Harty. I set up another business, which is called Lucrative Business. You like my company name? Lucrative. So Lucrative Business, LLC. So our guys will set up a limited liability company for you. They then set up a US bank account so you can transfer the rent in and out of that US bank account. And then what they do is they organise the titles companies, the insurance, the property managers and things like that. So the thing is, if you weigh up how long it would take you to do all of those things yourself, you'd be there for donkey's ages and you'd be wasting time. So who's a person of convenience? I am. Who does their own tax returns? You do. Are you an accountant? You're just a champion. Rare breed. The thing is, that's why most people go to an accountant to do their tax, because we don't want to, right? I don't want to trudge to the US to go looking for US properties, even though the opportunity is great. I would much rather pay someone to do it for me, right? It's the same as websites. I've got a team of Ninja Pinos, which I'll talk about tomorrow, and they do all of my websites, right? No disrespect, but it's true. Because I don't have the time to do the things. Like, I've got time to focus on the things that mean a lot to me, which is my family, which is my business, but I don't have time to fluff around with other things. That's why you have a team. So they organise all this stuff. If you want to speak to someone about your super or finance or, getting a US tax ID, that's important. Our guys do all of that for you, right? So that's the team in Australia. So Kartik Gupta, where are you, Kartik? Stand up. Oh, you are, sorry. Just jokes. If you can't, have a joke with your co-worker, who can you have a joke with? But that's Kartik. He's unbelievable, and he travels to the States 2 or 3 times a year. He goes and buys properties. He goes and fixes up any issues. He organises property managers, tenants. So he's in and out, and he's pretty much the driver behind US property. And Dom and Sunny, they're the guys that will set up your LLC, they'll set up your EIN, they'll set up all the administrative requirements for you to buy your property. And then we've got these 2 guys that live in the US, and they're our US acquisition team. So their role is to actually source the properties, find them in decent areas, and then offer them to our clients. So they work for 21st Century. And you need a team over there, right? So doing this as one group, and every year we go across, we have a look at our properties. Some people buy properties, some go and check out their previous properties. But who's got a property who's got an investment property here in Australia they've never seen before? Yeah, a couple people. Because you don't really need to see it, do you? Right? You don't need to. What is the most important thing about having an investment property? Exactly. The money, as long as rent's coming in, and the place is not decrepit, that's all I care about. I've got properties in WA, in North Queensland that I've never ever seen before. I just check the bank account as long as there's money coming in and I've got people looking after it. That's because the thing is, you don't want to be bogged down with slow things. If you want to go over and see it, then you can go and see it. But there's no need to, right? Because you can come over with us because we normally have a holiday with that. But they're the major benefits. People are buying property in Australia and in the US for this very reason. They want cash flow, right? That is one major reason. They want long-term capital growth. So you've got a GFC, 2008, prices were 100 grand, suddenly through no fault of their own, subprime mortgage, toxic mortgages written. They were giving anybody who could actually walk finance to get these houses. Then suddenly the market collapses and their houses that were once 100 grand, it's all relative though, so the 500 grand houses are now 300,000, the 100 grand house, everything is 50% off. Who's travelled to America for a holiday? Everything's cheap over there, everything except food, right? Shoes are cheap, clothes are cheap, accommodation cheap. Everything is cheap. You can take a bus around every state and houses are 50, 60, 40. It's unbelievable, particularly to Australians when we're used to 600, 800. It is so unbelievable. It's seeing is believing. And that's why I had to buy one, because when Jamie was up here talking about US property, I thought he was telling some furfies. Right? I'm going, yeah, that dude's on drugs. Better cut that. That dude's dreaming, right? Because I didn't believe the properties could be so cheap, right? And I had to see it, and that's why I walked through the process. And my first one was 42 grand. So the growth, the cash flow, the currency exchange, and then diversifying that, okay? And it's just having a plan. If you get onto Google, you can type in US housing market, and they'll give you an update of where the currency market's sitting, where the housing market is sitting. So you can see for yourself that who here believes that the US market's going to continue to go up? A couple? Who thinks it's going to go down? Back down? Oh, good. Thank goodness for that. It really can't go any lower than what it went, right? Can it? It went the bottom of the bottom, right? And then all of these people had to give their houses back. The banks foreclosed. They couldn't make the payments. They took their houses back, right? So now they have turned seriously into a nation of renters, because they're not going to race back to the bank of the fear that it could collapse again, because they're still a bit uncertain. They're on strike. Are they still on strike, Joe? I think they're still on strike, right? 15% of the government went on strike, right? So there is still a fair bit of uncertainty over there, okay? So the thing is, it's just getting onto CNN, getting onto CNBC, getting onto Bloomberg, even just get onto Huffington Post, just to see just to keep abreast of what's going on over there, right? Because we have a lot of foreign investment. Actually, $82 billion was spent last year on US property by foreigners. So you've got the Chinese, you've got the Canadians, you've got the Aussies, you've got the Kiwis, you've got the Brits. Everyone is up over there buying their own property. They would buy their property if they could get a loan, right? 80 grand plus can get a loan, right? Because they've still got a nice high credit score. But the typical, you've got 330 million people. How many have we got?
20.
Yeah, so there's so many houses. There's so many goddamn people, right? It's just unbelievable. But it's all relative, as I said. So let's have a look at the states that we're investing. So who can tell me what that is a map of? Quick.
United States.
Woo! 20 points. Okay. So I love America. Who loves America? Oh, come on, you gotta. I love America. That's why we watch all those sitcoms and movies. We love it. Something about America. Maybe the superpower. I don't know. Maybe it's Arizona. I was going to say something, but Arizona. That's where we first started investing back, 3 years ago. Now, there was so much growth in Arizona. Properties that were sold for $50,000, $60,000 have now increased by nearly 20, 30, 40% in some cases. So much so that Harty's got a list from fund managers now that want to buy all those properties that we bought back then off our clients. And if you bought a property back in Phoenix for 50 grand, they're offering you 80, 90, 100 grand for it. And many of our members have taken that up. Right? Because Jamie predicted that this is where we're going to go based off the research and stats that he had from the people on the ground over there. So we don't do investing there because it's already started to climb up too much, and you'd be now buying a property at, 100 grand. So we had to look for other areas to invest, such as the mid-northwest, Indianapolis, Missouri, up in there, Chicago, northwest Indianapolis, up in here. Now, those areas up here, right, they are cheaper, right? You've got different styles of property. You've got properties that are mid-1950s, 60s, 70s, right? So they're the properties that you'll get for 30, 40, 50,000, but they return such higher cash flow, right? So older properties, but they're returning higher cash flow. Now, if you don't want the older style properties, but you prefer a newer stock, most Aussies do, because when we went to the US boot camp, even though we went on a, pretty much a 7-city tour and showed them all the different properties over a week and a half, the majority of the Australians bought in Dallas, right? Because they saw properties that they would comfortably live in. But the thing is, you've got to remove the emotional attachment because you're not going to live there, right? Someone else will live there, okay? But if you want newer properties that are 1990s, 2000 and beyond, then Dallas and Houston, but you're paying a higher price for them. So you're looking around 150,000 US dollars, returning 7, 8, 9%. Okay, whereas the cash flow, that's what I mean. You've got to weigh up, it's not about the house, you've got to weigh up, do I want to buy a US property for cash flow, or do I prefer to buy a US property for capital growth? And in some places we've got a bit of a hybrid model where it's around the 80 grand where you've got a bit of both. But it's a matter of sitting with Kartik and the team and having a look of what's available. And then the final thing is this, is a place called North Dakota. So it's on the border of Canada, right? And there's Montana and Minnesota there. But that's where we've got some new stock, which I'll talk towards the second half of the presentation. So we'll always try and find markets that are, one, returning high rental yields, and two, that have long-term growth. For example, Dallas. When we first invested in Dallas about maybe 6 months ago, it has now gone up nearly 8% in the last quarter in Dallas. So the people that have bought that's like our Phoenix market was a few years ago. And the thing is, all you want is your property to double, to go back up, and to bring that nice income in. So you can then replicate that again. So just say these markets, something happens with these markets, we'll then just move to another market. But we'll identify key indicators. It's got to have strong economic indicators. It has to have, medium to low unemployment rate, or very low unemployment rate. It needs to have sustainable industry. You want to have a business that, the town's not going to be up in Detroit where it can collapse. We've got to really make sure that you've got this long-term growth and long-term sustainability of infrastructure, of employment, of transport, of everything that you would normally pick here in Australia when you invest in Australia. So I'm not going to go into each of the states. What I want to do is just show you some properties that we have bought, and just to give you an idea of the range. Right, so this is the average price for all the properties. Now, don't worry about what the property looks like. It's what the rental returns and the numbers, right? Because you need to do the numbers. Now, all the prices are in US dollars. Right, so that's what you're talking about in US dollars. So 58 grand, it may be about 63 US Australian, depending on where the dollar is at the moment, because I haven't checked for the last 2 days. So 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, returning 14%. What happens is, as I said, we have to do the inside, we have to do the outside, you have to get it up to market rental, right? So it may need replacement of the kitchen, it may just need the floors done or paint done, whatever sort of minor things need to be done to get it up in a livable state. This is a nice one in St. Louis in Missouri. Okay, so this is more hybrid. So you've got $80,000, $78,000, and you can see it's got a lower rental return, right? Because here we're going for a bit of capital growth and we're also going for rental yield. But that's quite a nice property. We actually visited that property. You can see the back, you can see the neighbouring streets. We went through, had a look at, different aspects of the house. It's a bit dark, but you can sort of get the idea. And you can go to our website and have a look at all of the photos. But what I want to do is I want to show you of one particular, every year we do a trip. Right, so if you could play this just for the first few seconds of this video, that'd be great.
It's been really good coming on the tours because you can put a paint a picture of what you're actually buying, and to actually see the quality of the refurbishments that are being done is really good. Obviously buying something sight unseen isn't ideal, but to actually come through and see the houses is great, and to actually see that they've been finished to a good quality and are in a livable state is really good. And it's just good to see like that you've actually see your tangible asset. And it's been really good just driving around Kansas City. That's where we've only been so far, but we're going to Indianapolis and Dallas as well soon. But it's been really good just driving around the neighbourhoods, getting a feel for all the infrastructure, all the industries that are in the area, getting a feel for the neighbourhoods, and even just seeing the people and the demographics around. So that's been very, very worthwhile.
So here we are in Kansas City, and I've just...
So the thing is, like she's a classic example of someone who's driven. She already had a couple of properties in the US, just single family homes, 3 and 4 bedroom homes. And then when she came on the tour, she decided to go for a third property, right? So usually someone will just go and buy another property. And anyway, we came to a block of units, not these particular, but similar to these, right? And they were $500,000. So she goes, our plan was to, go and have a look. If you want one of these, you can get one. She comes back out and says she wants the whole unit. And there was 32, was there? 32 units in this block. So she rings up Dad, organised some finance, right? And in the end, she bought the block of units for $500,000, right? Now, fast forward, it took 9 months to settle those properties for her. And then, who's heard of Section 8? So Section 8 is like housing assistance here in Australia, right? So the Section 8 authority, they virtually organise rent. So someone who's a low-income earner pays Section 8. Section 8 pays you, the owner, directly into your bank account. And, half of my properties are Section 8 tenants, right? Which means I don't have to worry about the tenant not paying because the government pays directly into my bank account. That's how Section 8 works. So I don't distinguish between, do I get a market tenant or do I get a section tenant? To me, a person is a person. As long as someone's paying it, I don't care. So what happened is with Section 8, she bought 32 units, right? 32 units, right? So it cost her $500,000. She ended up getting finance for that, right, for half of it. So she put in half of that. 9 months later, Section 8 rings up and says, you know what? We love those units. We actually want to rent all of them out on your behalf. She didn't even know we didn't even know. Actually, we probably would have put the prices up if we had known, right? But what she did is now for the next 20 years, she's going to get rent on all of those. She's got a 20-year guarantee for those units. Now, the income that she's going to make, right, at 20% equals what? Come on. She's going to make $100,000 a year, a month. Bloody oath! I want one of those. The thing is, she's now for the rest of her life going to make $100,000 annual income. True, Kartik? Yeah, gross. But that's gross. Okay, but the thing is, she didn't have to do much. She saw it, she looked at it, gross income. So she saw it, she saw an opportunity, she's probably thinking, okay, we need a property manager to rent that out. But now Section 8 have come to her and now they're going to rent it out for the next 20 years. So she's actually travelling around the world now, just, living off the rent and living off life. And she's, that was something she was under 30 doing that. Right? So, there's opportunities to be made. This is one of the houses that I've bought. This is my second investment, cost me $50,000, returning virtually 18%. So I've got 2 tenants, right? One on either side, they're both happy. It did take a little while to get the first tenant, right? But from then on, it's all sweet. So then all I do is go, okay, how can I get some money to buy the next property? And I went and knocked on the door, this gangster come out with a big, what? Hey, backpedal, met the guy there. So, it was all sweet. But, to me, it's just another investment property, and this is a typical one. People like duplexes because you have that double income. As soon as they arrive, they pretty much disappear straight away. But, as I said, it doesn't matter what it is you want. All you've got to do is just tell us how much you want and why you want it, and we'll get it for you. So let's watch this. This is one of the tenants in the properties.
Experience about this property, and how do you feel like?
It's a nice property. It's quiet. It's
Yep.
secure.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that a lot. You can, like if it's warm inside, you can raise your windows. Don't have to worry about someone.
Yep. And how
From
long?
the outside,
How long
yeah.
have you been living here for?
Almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
almost 10 years.
You're
This
the
coming October.
longest, aren't you?
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
are the neighbors like? How do you get along
Some of the
with
neighbors are so-so. But,
Okay, restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, it's okay.
Yeah. And how's the neighborhood like? Do you like the neighborhood?
Decent.
Pretty
yeah,
decent.
Pretty decent.
Any issues with like security, crime, theft?
Yeah, there's some crime. But other than that, it's really nice.
Have you
Okay.
ever had problems in here with crime?
No.
Oh, within this property?
In here.
No, it's all. Yeah.
That's one thing I can say. No.
Yeah, it's definitely safe.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Uh-huh.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
And she was lovely, she just rocked out, she was sort of walking around. But yeah, that's what they do. If they're paying that rent, and that's Section 8 rent, right? So one of my properties is, I think, $450 a month rent I receive for one half of a property. And then I actually questioned what my statement was to the property manager. I said, what is this $40-something here? She goes, oh, that's the tenant's contribution. I said, geez, you guys have got it easy over here. And that's the tenant's contribution for that particular one. So out of $450, the tenant only pays $40 of their own, right? If they default, come on, So, that's a good thing about that. And then again, one of our strongest markets is Dallas, right? And Dallas, as I said, higher price, less returns, lower returns, but really nice stock. So here's a classic example. I use this one all the time. Much of a muchness, a brick home, big 4-bedroom, in a really beautiful professional neighbourhood, middle income earners, right? So you've got 8%, but much nicer communities and newer stock. And that's probably why a lot of Australians prefer to buy that type of stock. Okay, so you're in much nicer environments or neighbourhoods. And everything in Dallas is beautiful, if you've ever been there, and everything is big and rich in Texas, right? So, but yeah, it depends on what you want to do. Right, and ideally the way that you just have to identify what property you want, and then we walk through the process for you. And you can book in a time with Kartik and that to go through all of that, right? And it's about us setting up all the prelims, LLC, insurance, property managers. We do an inspection report, etc. And you don't sort of follow on from that until you're completely satisfied. So for the last 10 minutes, I'm just going to cover. This is new for us. Who's got a North Dakota property here at the moment? Yeah, you have, Ange. You have? You're Donna, of course. These guys have travelled down from NT. Have you met each other? You have to meet each other. They're probably pretty much from the same town. So the thing is, when we came out with North Dakota, it's not house and land. It is mining leases. Who's knows anyone that's in the mines? All right? This country is built on mining, right? The fly-in, fly-out mining worker, either in Queensland or throughout Western Australia. That's where resources, our biggest mining comes from WA. So when we sort of rolled this out, the first block of properties instantly went in 2 days. There was only 24 of them, and 95% were sold to West Australians and West Australian mining families. Because when they do it, they get it, and their husband flies in and out to it. Right? So all this is in a different state. So what we've got now is when you've got a single family home, land and a house returning 14-15% for 50 grand, or you've got a mining lease, which is an executive studio, which I'll go through, returning up to 42%. So it's not for everybody, but those people who are looking at their second and third investment then really need to pay attention to this. Now this is called, they call it the bark and boom, aptly named. Right? And what it is, they've discovered a small ocean of oil up on the border of, in and around Canada and North Dakota, up there. Right? So the amount of oil, they've always known it's been there, right? America are very resource rich, but the only thing is they never ever had the technology to be able to extract some of these resources. And particularly the laws and legislation, environmental impact down in Texas has prevented a lot of stuff from developing further down in Texas, right? So they've found some up here, right? It's known as the Bakken Formation, and they believe that the amount of oil that's in there will last for the next 50 to 80 years by the time they can extract it out from the earth, thanks to this technology. This is a NASA shot, right, of the flare-offs in Chicago and also the Bakken Formation. And Kartik and I took a flight up there a few months ago because, you know, if I'm going to invest in something, if I'm going to put another 50, 60 grand down, particularly up there, I actually want to go and check it out, all right, because I wouldn't be able to talk to you about it if I wasn't doing it myself. So when you see my husband come in here tomorrow, please don't tell him because he doesn't know about this one yet, but he doesn't need to know. Anyway, it's under lucrative business, right? So, okay, so we're investing in a place called Watford City, right? So you may want to take notes. You can go and do your own research and due diligence on that. And it's smack bang in where they believe that the ocean of oil is found. So there's 40 billion barrels of oil that they need to extract. And thanks to, you know, this new technology that they class as fracking, right? They're able to extract this oil. Who's heard of the Beverly Hillbillies? When we went up there, it was exactly like that, except their utes are a bit more modern these days, right? But it was exactly like that. I actually felt like I was in Hicktown, you know? It was just unbelievable. I was just sort of going, oh my God, pinch me. But due to this technology of fracking, right, the largest oil companies in the world, Halliburton, she's not an oil company, Chevron, Exxon, BP, they're up there, you know, developing this. So normal drilling occurs so you can just drill vertical, right? But this shale here, they're now, thanks to sand and water and this technology, they can drill vertical as well as horizontal. Fractures the rock, the oil's released and they can pull it out. And because of this technology that China is now desperate to get their hands on, right, what does that mean to America? America uses virtually 25% of all the world's energy. America has just pulled out of the war on terror in Afghanistan because they don't actually need the Middle East anymore. True? Right, because now they can be a sustainable nation. By the year 2017, they believe that the US will break with OPEC. Right? So they're the governing bodies that dictate the oil prices, etc. So, you know, we went up there and just seeing this stuff, the actual drills, the wells, you know, it was just unbelievable. And as we flew in, right, I had my iPhone. I filmed virtually every person I was, you know, within on the plane. And you know what, when I walked in, it's funny because it's like some of the blokes that work up there, they're from Middle Earth themselves, right? So, you know, having some of these conversations with some of these people was just extraordinary because it was like it was in the movies. But as we flew in, as far as the eye could see were these things, right? And I'm just sitting there filming out, and I'm going, Kartik, oh my God, look at this. And they were everywhere, this type of thing. It was probably one of the best experiences that I've seen as far as production and growth at a massive scale, right? Because I had seen military operations on a massive scale when a military base is spread out over 5 kilometres, but like this was 20 times that. It was unbelievable. And the sound that this thing makes drops down like 3 kilometres, extracts the oil. It was just, it was really phenomenal. So, as I mentioned, the US uses, you know, 20% of all the world's energy and soon they'll break. So people go, well, what's that got to do with property? Everyone's racing up there, right? Everyone's racing. Why are they racing up to North Dakota? Tell me. Ka-ching! The money. They lost their houses a few years ago and now they can go, holy crap, they're paying me, you know, $100,000, $200,000 a year for different skills. When Kartik and I landed, right, we flew in, we tried to get accommodation up there. No chance, right? No chance because one, it's Hicksville, and two, people are sleeping in their trucks, they're sleeping in their cars, they're sleeping wherever they can, right? So we found out about this critical shortage of housing up there, and Jamie always brings the latest stuff to you guys. Right, he goes, we've got to get up there, we've got to go and investigate, we've got to check it out. So that's what we did. We went up and then we were able to get some of these units. Now, because there is such, I'm not just talking about, okay, there's no housing. There is seriously no housing. Seriously no housing. So this is what we were faced with. We saw these everywhere. You know, RV parks, camps where you've got these people sleeping in there, right? This style of thing. So if they believe the oil's going to be there for the next 50 to 80 years to extract the oil, they reckon it'll take 15 years, 10 to 15 years to actually put the drills into place. Now, once the majority of those people, they'll leave. But you'll still need a workforce to maintain those drills and to still cut the sand, cut the water, cut the oil, plus all the service workers associated with that. There's no infrastructure up there. It's like going to a farm and, you know, all of our commodities and resources. You look in Western Australia. Is it lush up there? No, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the Pilbara, right? That's where resources are. There's nothing up there. Families aren't up there. Send your husband up there to make a bucket load of money, but I'm staying back in sunny California with the kids. The men will travel up there because of the income is so high. But the thing is, they've got no places. There's about 4,000 or 5,000 of these put up. They need to sustain a workforce of nearly 30,000 workers. So people are going up there, getting a job, no worries, but then how long is that going to last? You can only sleep in your car for so long, right? And a lot of people have been sleeping in their cars. So it was really unbelievable to see, like even this company here, this is a medical company, they had to do a $5,000 sign-on bonus just to get nurses to come up there. It probably relates to, if I said to you, I'm going to give you 200,000, you'd jump at the chance, but when I tell you it's in Birdsville, people go, oh, maybe I won't. Because not everybody wants to go up there. And now on top of that, in winter, it gets down to minus 30. So in winter, you've only got 8 hours of daylight because the Earth's on a different tilt over there. It's just crazy, it's crazy. So employers are being forced to create their own hangar-style accommodation and house their own workers. So, you know, you can just get online, do a Google research, type in US housing market and see for yourself, right? Because this stuff is real. And then what we did is we went up there, had a look. You know, truck drivers are earning 70, 80 grand. Everywhere we went, it said hiring, 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 right? And the turnover of workers is huge. So, you know, before I get into the suite that we're investing in, when we came in, when Kartik and I flew in, right, we just assumed, okay, yeah, there's a few places around. Yeah, we'll just go and hire a car and we'll drive out to the site. Anyway, and I said to Kartik, let's pre-book. And he goes, no, there are plenty of cars. We'll be able to. I said, okay, no worries. So we land, no cabs, not even a cab rank. So where's the hire place? Oh, the hire company car, there's only one and no cars. I said, well, when's the next one due back? No, there's no car. I said, my God, we've landed in Hicksville with no public transport. How are we going to get 2 hours away to where our site was? And I'm thinking, okay, I can only piggyback Kartik for about 5 kilometres. And then I'm thinking, okay, I know, why don't we just go back into the shop, ask the lady, does she have a son or a cousin that we could pay to drive us? So she went and she goes, yeah, I'll bring up my cousin. He can come and drive you wherever you want to go, ma'am. I said, okay. Anyway, she didn't come back to us. Anyway, we walked out a bit deflated, just trying to be resourceful and think, how are we going to get somewhere? Anyway, this cab dude rocks up. This dude with this dude trying to put this sign on his car called the cab dude. And I went, what a cool sign, cab dude. Right? And I went, hey, dude, we need a cab. And he goes, oh, I'm only starting my business today. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, I saw that there was a need for taxis, so I've got my car and I'm going to start a cab business. And I went, what, right now? And he goes, yeah. And I said, can you drive us around for 7 hours? And he went, okay. Let's fast forward, and he's now just arrived in Australia for a visit. Come up, Tom from North Dakota. Joe, sorry. The cab dude. So, Joe, thank you for coming to Australia. Like he said he was going to come visit. All right, so just run through your story of like sort of how that rolled out, and then we'll start talking about Joe, how long he's been in North Dakota and why he's here and stuff like that.
The taxi company was something where there were a couple of other taxi companies in town, but they didn't have that good a customer service. People weren't really dependable. And I had already been in Williston for a couple of years, and I saw the need. And so basically I said, I'm going to start with my car and me, and we'll go from there. And now we're 4 months later, I have 7 cars, a shuttle, and we also do all the shuttle runs for the local airlines. When their planes break down, we take them to the other airports. And
So he saw a need, right? A strong demand that there's no, and especially like Australians who are going up there, because we ran into an Australian at the airport, remember? This dude has an Akubra hat with Crocodile Dundee teeth around it. And he was working in North Dakota because of the money. So how long have you been in North Dakota for, Joe?
about 3 years.
3 years. So what made you head up there? Where did you come from originally?
I was raised in Montana, and I wanted a change of environment. And I started to do some research and saw that North Dakota had less than 1% unemployment.
Yeah, good point. That's true.
Compared with the rest of the nation, which was 8 to 9%. And also with the state having $1 billion surplus, I figured the opportunities in North Dakota are pretty much endless.
So you just went up there in the hope of finding a job, or just because there was a lot of jobs available, or you wanted the cash? And
Responded to an ad on Craigslist and was up there, slept in my car for 3 days before I could even get into a house.
there you go. So seeing the time that you've been there, and look, you know, he saw a business opportunity, and a lot of people are going up there purely because there are so many opportunities available. It's just being creative. He saw a need, no one's got a cab. What a great company to start, the cab dude. You know, because I was saying to Carty, I said, we need a cab dude. Where's that bloody cab dude? And then sure enough, this dude comes and he's sticking this sign on his little Holden, or what car did you have? Yeah. And then as we were driving along, you know, he charged us about $1,000, right, to drive us for about 7 hours. And we're going, okay, Kartik. And so he took us out to Watford City, right, and then gave us this, and I've got all the footage, gave this unbelievable story about different things. And, you know, the first thing I asked him, I said, so you got a gun, right? Stupid question, right? Because then out comes this thing that's like as long as his leg, hanging out here, and I've just gone, okay, just tuck that back under there. And then I said, what else have you got? And what else did you flash me? Flash it to me now. Have you got it now? He flashes this at me, which made me feel safe, not this big dude with a big gun and a big badge. I said to Kartik, is he trustworthy? He goes, I don't know, we'll just see. I said, okay, let's go. So he took us to Watford City. So in the time that you've been there, what is the growth as far as from the time you got there a few years ago to what you've seen now, like a real life account of the growth over there?
Watford City and Williston, the 2 biggest oil towns in North Dakota, anywhere between 4 and 5-fold increase.
Yeah. So Watford City is about an hour and a half from, so you'd fly into Williston, that's where we flew, and then we had to get a trip to there. What do you see as far as the oil companies, what makes you think that they're not just, you know, an oil company that's come and put up a small demountable to operate their headquarters compared to the scale of what we've read, right, and we've physically seen, but you live there, we don't live there, so, right. You know, we have to be very cautious about our investment as well, right? So what do you think is, to you, makes it a long-term sustainable thing?
I think it's really simple math. You take an oil rig that is being drilled, and they have a budget of around $9 million to build that well, or to drill the well. And once it's drilled and production starts, they earn that $9 million back in the first 6 months of production.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. So we now have virtually employed Joe as a contractor, or our eyes on the ground, because he lives there. So you've been to our site, like apart from the time that you took us, so you've just been out there recently. So is there still work going on there?
It's still booming. The site's coming along great. They've got power out there. They've got the utilities in. They've started renting units out. It's coming along like they said it would. So the location of where our actual development is, which I'm going to show you guys next, where our actual development is. So as far as location goes, like the spans of the oil wells, what do you think of that location without even knowing us? I think where it is on the highway, I would call it prime placement in the area, because it's on the busiest highway in the state. Thousands of trucks passing by there every day, and that's who you're really looking to get is the trucker and the oil field worker. Yeah. And not just having a location that's that's in between those two oil towns, but there's also a truck bypass that's being built, and that bypass tees in right where that location is.
Yeah, no, like I was pretty impressed because I think it was about 3 or 4 kilometres from the little township, but I like the fact that it was on that big main highway, which was turning into a dual lane freeway. And for those people that don't know, Williston, you know, because there was such a large influx of people, they actually reduced the amount of permits that they allowed for land and stuff like that. So that's why we sort of went for Watford. We actually sort of went away from where everybody else was investing, which has turned out perfect. So why don't people just go and buy a house, an investment property up there, like actual house and land, compared to these studio apartments?
There are homes available. There are people that are actually bringing in subdivisions, and people can buy residences, but the majority of the people that are up there are, you know, the dad that's been sent up there by the family to do the work, and most of them are actually put in housing by by their employers. Their employers said, hey, you know, come on up here. It's a living hell in the wintertime, negative 50. But
it's unheard of, though, you know, for us to, like, Melbourne, I think, we got to -3 the other day, and I was telling him, and I said, what is it like at home now, and what is it at the moment, like today? What was today?
Today was -5, -10.
Okay, that's all right.
It's still t-shirt weather. Not too bad.
He loved it when he came to Melbourne. He goes, well, it's this winter. I went, yeah, it's freezing, isn't it? He's going, not yet, you know. So anyway, if you guys want to ask Joe any questions, he's here with us all weekend, and he's on a bit of a world holiday now. He makes a bucket-load of money. He's, you know, picked up another 7 or 8 cabs and a couple of shuttles. So now where are you off to now? You're going to do some time in Oz?
And then I travel from here to Tokyo, Tokyo to Hong Kong, Hong Kong to Mumbai, Mumbai to Dubai, Dubai to Amsterdam, and then Amsterdam back to Minneapolis.
And then to North Dakota?
Yes.
Back to North. Well, give him a hand. It's beautiful to have him here. Thanks, mate. Thanks so much. Okay, let's wrap this up. So I've got about 3 minutes left. I'm going to do this real quick because you guys can book in an appointment to find out more information because I'm a little over at the moment. But as I said, this is the style of accommodation that we're investing in, right? And we've bought 2 of these. Well, we've bought a few more, but our initial enrolment was, this is the 240-man campish style, right? And each of these are broken up. You've got a central kitchen. Now, we went to one called the Buck and Buffet, and it's open 20 hours a day, and people off the street can just go drive in, get a nice hot meal, and leave. So we've got this in ours. You've also got your own individual bathroom. You've got a rec centre and a lot of different facilities. So the reason that the oil companies like this particular style is because it's a lot nicer than the typical man camps that they have over there. As I said, there's only about 4,000 of these for a service force of 20 to 30,000 that they need to fulfil. A lot of people are just staying in their cars at the moment, but it's going to be self-contained with gym, etc., shop. But this is what it looks like, all right? So if you've ever experienced that Donga-style mining accommodation in the West, it is exactly the same. In fact, if you've ever been in the army, the accommodation's the same. That's how we house our soldiers here in Australia as well, right? But actually, this is much nicer than what the army used to give us. So you've got this typical studio apartment suite, like a serviced apartment, right? You know, it's got all the basic needs that a human wants. It's got a bed, it's got a bathroom, kitchen facilities, but one of the main things, it's got its own private bathroom. So when it is minus 30 or 40 in the morning, you don't actually have to duck outside and share a bathroom with somebody else, right? You have all of those. So if they've come home from a really long day of just sucking up oil, right, the last thing they want to do is go and share with somebody else. And having their own private facility with their own bathroom, with a hot meal, have a beer, go to bed, and then go through it again. Right, so that's what we're buying. Well, that's what we've invested in, and we're up to stage 3. So the first stage, when we went up and had a look, just looked like that. I was pretty happy when we got up there because I actually saw some work being done. I saw that the land was being cleared. You know, we met up a couple of guys over here that were from New York. They were the water treatment guys from New York. They were putting in the pipes, the potable water, the sewage system, etc. So it was good to actually see that. Kartik was also with us. So we went and filmed, and like I've got all footage of inside these things as well that you can see on our website. So that is the completion of the site now. So the people that went in stage 1, which is me included, that's now ready and it is now being marketed, and the oil companies are moving into that. So we should have rent from these within the next month or so. So that's sold out in 2 days. They're about 55 grand, okay, US dollars. Now, this is photos from last week, right? So when it was nice and warm when I was there, now it's like snow and minus 5 or 6. So these are current photos of the site now. Right, so phase 2, the second phase, they're all sold out as well. They go live in December, so they should start receiving rent within a month after that, occupying that. So all the groundwork's been done, utilities, etc. So these are all fixed to foundations. So what they do is they build them in Chicago, Minneapolis, tow them up on a truck and erect them, right, ready to go, once the water and electricity and that's in. Phase 3, which we've got 15 of those available left for phase 3. So if you've wanted to sort of look at getting into this higher net return, as I said, it's not for everybody, but for those people who want that like super high return, this is a 30-year lease, right? So 30 years, within 3 years your investment is paid back because you're getting such a large income from that. Now, just say we've bought 28 of them. Right, and we've only filled 10 of them with tenants for the first few months. The thing is, it's pooled, right? So you may not get 42% straight up, but you may get 25 or 30%. Who'd be happy with that? Right, so the thing is, it is pooled until we sort of all get up to the same point. Now, you can, if you don't want to do that, you can do a 5, which I did for my first one, a 5-year rental guarantee at 25%. So my first one, I just cautiously went through, and that's a great option. So I know from day one, regardless whether they're all filled or not, I'm going to get 25% rent on those. Right, so these are the signs that are up in and around Watford City for the oil companies. Their job is just to recruit these people to start doing it now. And then, the price we're looking at is around 55 grand. Right, but the income you're going to get, guys, is $22,000 a year, right, or 40%. Right, so you can have a look at the due diligence kit. The Harty's got a heap of those. The cost, your total investment cost for this is around $63,000. Right? If you can find another way to make that sort of income, then absolutely go for it. But there's nothing like that, and that's one of the reasons that I went and invested in one of these things. So all up, my investment is $63,000. Again, it's through a limited liability company. It's set up, it's protected, and on next year's trip we'll go and check it out. But you can express your interest at the back of the room. All right, so that's it for me. For those people who want to book in an appointment, we've got a full day tomorrow. You can go to the back of the room, you can see Kartik, you can see Dominic, make an appointment. You may want to discuss whether it's a house and land, you may want to discuss whether it's a North Dakota. Obviously there's a fee to become a membership for us to do all of this. Some of you already are US property members, but see the guys at the back and they can book that. Who learned something from here? Excellent. Well, the only thing that you can do is whatever you want to do, you've got to, model people that are doing it as well, and you need to move towards that, take action and move towards that. Again, thanks so much for your time. I think we got cash flow next, right? So, thanks, Joe. Go to the back and people will come and talk to you.